I need help, boss.
Stands up and says it louder. He goes, I have a really big penis.
We're the NSAA. We're never serious about anything except grip ball.
I have drifted an aircraft carrier.
What?
To an extent, but you'd be out there alone as fuck. There's no.
Just bumping into people by osmosis of dopeness, you know? Welcome, everybody. It is the Happy Hoodlums podcast. I'm your host, Kemper Woodruff. I got the other co-host in the house, Mr. Zachary Sampson, and we're here with Portland's own, Gorge Mouth Records' own, Tenface, a.k.a. Luis Ocasio.
Boom.
Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And so me and Luis met, and I was like, dude, you're a rad guy. And I was like, what do you do? And he was like, well, I happen to have a label in town. And I was like, well, that's not something you hear every day. And so we started chopping it up a little bit. It was kind of brief, but he left me with the whole Gorge Mouth Records like info and hit me with a text. And I just started checking out his stuff. And I got to say, for anyone that doesn't know, you'll have a definite pleasure and a buffet to choose from if you want to, go through a couple different styles. And so I guess as we kind of kick this off, there's really no right or wrong way to go about it, but I'm intrigued as to what led you into music and how did you start this whole label with your friend who isn't here. And so give him a shout out just so the people know.
For sure, yeah. Brett Anderson is the homie. We've been working together since 2006. Really, we were in bands all the way in high school. Back then, it was like metal, So we met in a metal band. His band was looking for a singer. I joined up, and the band splintered shortly afterwards. And I was like, I like you. Let's go do something else, And we just hung out, wrote a bunch of songs, and kind of had this band for maybe, I don't know, a decade. And our band fell apart, kind of just falling out with the drummer and stuff, which we're all like best buds. We're all like brothers now, after going through the shit and coming back to it. But we got the band back together finally. But so this is about like maybe 2015, the band had fallen apart. And so I was like, we never got it recorded, and we had gone to the studio several times and never got a product that we liked back. And so we were like, I don't know, let me take a few years. Let's just put this all on pause. I'm going to learn how to record. And then I'm going to make it myself because I trust my own ears. And that was when I made Live Island, Atlas Suite was, so it was like maybe 2 years later, 2017, I made this album. And then I started making this Tenface stuff. And I was like, well, shit, I'm making too many different kinds of music. I need to encompass it, into like something, which is where...
1 second. I think it cut out, Luis. So I don't want to skip over something that's really imperative in the story. We jumped back in at Tenface, but there was a brief gap, about 15 seconds.
What's the last thing you heard?
My memory's all jacked up, so I just remember it chopped up and Tenface. You said that you wanted to trust your own ears.
Yeah, I wanted to encompass it into like take all the genres of music that you were making, kind of encompass it into one.
Yeah. Just the only way I felt like I could make so many different kinds of music was to make this little label. And really all the music on the label is my music. It's like I sometimes have features and stuff, but I have so much of my own stuff I want to create that I actually I'm kind of bogged down with that. I don't record anybody else. So we're kind of, I have, just to kind of take it back a step, I did an apprenticeship in a recording studio here in town, recorded a bunch of other bands. So I have had that experience, but also through that experience was like, I just want to do my own shit. I really kind of don't like recording other people. So hence the label. And that's why there's like 1,000 different kinds of music on there.
Yeah. No, that's super dope. And also your artwork. I don't know where you got the inspiration for a lot of your album art, but it is so fucking rock and roll, artistic, like Portland to the max, bro. I
Yeah,
really
that was
think
like the first thing that caught my eye when I was starting to look at some of your stuff. Like I was like, wow, the uniqueness in some of the album art, it blew me away. I was like, whoa, this is interesting. It's different.
Man, glad you did. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things for me. I still make CDs and
Oh,
LPs too, but
nice.
I'll mostly make CDs because they're cheaper. But
Mhm.
album art's so cool. Like I remember back in the day, you know, you get a CD or an album, and it's this whole package you get to open up, and you know, there's like more hidden shit sometimes behind the CD or something.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
that was always part of the experience to me. You know,
that's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
and I just didn't want that to go away. You know, so I just try and put a lot into that.
Yeah, like everything that like what I are just like a cultural blender. Like you really love all these different aspects of, not just music, but it's like fucking just vibey shit. Like something that is so you blow the doors off while still remaining niche. I don't know how to explain it. You just like paradoxes. It's very like I feel like I'm doing mushrooms, like just as I'm going through choosing one thing to the next because my emotions are just like, woo.
Well, I really appreciate that you heard that, you know, and
Yeah.
catch that because, yeah, I
Did
mean
you
that's
intend to do that?
yeah, I mean absolutely that's the vibe, you know, and it's kind of hard to market, honestly, you know. So again, that's why I did my own label. I just trying to make like a space that people can find themselves in, and then, but yeah, I mean it's kind of some freak niche weird shit, you know.
Yeah. I think that's part of like, well, not just part of. I think that's kind of the beauty of what you guys are doing and really pushing with your movement because it it's often seen in rap music in particular, people doing everything in-house and kind of having their own lane, but it's not typical for them to branch out genre-wise or to have such a musical ear. You can really tell that you actually play instruments. You're not creating it. No knocks to anyone that is a Fruity Loops wizard, you know what I mean, or something. But it's really different because it's almost like driving a car that's a stick shift. Like you and this piece of machinery are like in tune and one thing. And there's a beauty that you get, like this symbiotic relationship when you're watching someone perform with an instrument. And so for you to take the ability to like look at it, I don't know if you read music actually or
Mhm.
if you're just kind of doing it off the cuff. um
Nah, man, straight up fucking band in 5th grade, yo.
Oh
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Hey, everything gets used. Everything gets used. And in terms of your homies, I know that you're not going to be able to necessarily tell everything, but how did you guys meet?
Brett and I?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett and I, we met, uh, actually on Craigslist, funny enough, back when
Hmm.
Craigslist was, like, not just for sex hookups. Like, that's where bands met back in the day, you know?
Huh.
Just some random ad, it was like, "Yo, got this metal band looking for a screamer," whatever. I went and auditioned, and went well, and then, like I said, after that, him and I went off, and, we just, like, didn't know what we were doing, but we like liked each other, thought each other played good stuff, and we just would like hang out, play guitars, do some mushrooms, smoke a bunch of weed, like drink a bunch of wine, and we
Hmm.
just would like talk about, I don't know, crazy like metaphysics and shit you do when you're on mushrooms,
Yeah.
and we kind of developed this bond through, actually uh he's one of the people I know on the planet that like actually has a really critical mind. We
Mm.
can throw ideas back and forth and not get emotional about it, or we can really like dig into some stuff and consider things that it's like, okay, I'm not sure if this is even true, but let's be able to talk about it, and
Oh.
through that bond and through both just wanting to kind of be in a band forever. And he's a photographer. He's the one who took the picture for Live Island is like a black and white photo of like a viewfinder.
Yeah.
Um, Brett's like a professional photographer, actually.
I was gonna say your album art and all that kind of stuff. I had a feeling that someone in there was a photographer or a film buff of some sort. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, funny enough, actually, a lot of that album art I just shot on my iPhone,
Oh wow,
Yeah.
dude. What?
straight up,
You're,
with the
you're a
right
sensei.
filters, and you know what I'm saying.
There you
Yeah.
go, dude. It
The
just goes to
images
show that
are-
you don't need like the most fancy equipment to make shit happen,
That's right.
you
That's
know?
right.
So
It's just
it's
about
like
like placement, you know, like
for real, just
Mm-hmm.
composing it right and making it look interesting.
Yeah.
yeah.
Something that really caught my eye about your music though, is some of it was like it reminded me of this reggae band called Rebulation. And I
Okay.
don't know where you get your inspiration from, but I was really curious about that. Like, where do you get the inspiration for the unique sounds that you have going on?
I grew up listening to jazz and like Motown and stuff, kind of.
Okay.
From my dad. My dad's from New York, and you know, just kind of grew up with that, like kind of Curtis Mayfield and soul and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of like that, almost like cinematic, like badass walking down the street, but there's like horns and shit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
jazzy, but it's not like ding 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 jazz. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, growing up out here, I love Tool, you know, like Deftones and bands like that. And so I
Yeah.
think like this melding of, you know, soul and horns and R&B, and then like rock and roll, you know, too.
Fuck
And
yeah.
obviously hip hop influences and stuff, but it just kind of and growing up in the age of the internet, you know, it's like we can hear everything, you know.
For real.
So
Yeah.
I just went back to like 1900 and just went all the way through it all, you know.
Yeah,
And
bro.
That's
Sorry,
you
keep
awesome.
going.
know, no, is it?
I was gonna say it's almost like there's a nostalgia. Side note: my mom's from New York, so respect. But it reminded me of like when I was watching The Warriors for the first time. You know, like that kind of cinematic. It's super like eclectic, but it's rock and roll. Although it's like funky, it really is like The Warriors mixed with like Rastafari stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like way cool. Um, and I don't think that there could be a better way to really bring some truly Northwest stuff to life than to show that one person can comprehensively be a straight universe, you know, and that you have this whole world inside of yourself. And then we're like caught in this other world of culture, you know, and once you can break that um, insecurity of trying to perceive yourself as someone else is perceiving you, it's like this world of artistry can really come through in who you are and how you be rather than just what you do, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Like I said, I appreciate that you know see that and you can witness that. You know, because this shit's you know, some people like grab onto different pieces of, oh, I love your hip hop stuff, or oh, I love this or that. You know, but it's cool that you could like see the whole picture. You know.
Well, for those that don't know, all right, we met in a gun store, but you were wearing like a regular T-shirt, but your friend was dressed almost in like a dress shirt. You know, like so one of you looks like they just came from like a professional job. The other dude, being you, looks like you were just like skateboarding down the street and came from like a bar or something. You know what I mean? And
Probably
so like
that's what happened.
yeah, and then we wind up sitting there and talking, and I'm like, oh, but you're like, definitely you got some trippy influence in you. I'm like, all right. And so then I heard your music, and I was like, all right, I get it. You know, I was like, I fucking get it. And that's so rad to me because rather than um, hedging your bets on what you believe will work, quote unquote, in a commercial sense, to just making the fucking art that you want to make is
Yeah,
rad. You
yeah,
know,
that's
any
number
way
one.
you cut it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's about for us. Is I pretty much don't want to do it otherwise. And you can't chase trends. People tell me all the time, like, oh, you should do EDM. Everyone's doing EDM. Or you should do it. But it's like, if I ever am going to break through at some point, it's going to be being so authentically me that it makes its own thing. And if it's not that, I'm just chasing trends. It's never going to, I don't have the marketing behind me and the shit to like, I'm never going to be able to do that. So it's like, it's only going to happen if I get this like kind of cult following where people are like, okay, that guy, it's super real, and he's, if you could say it's weird, but it's like, it's not about being weird. It's just the fact that it's like original.
Yeah.
I'm not like trying to do any specific genre. I just literally do whatever comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of fits together in its ethos, even though there's some different sounds.
Yeah, it's its own little ecosystem of dopeness, where each thing kind of feeds into the evolution of whatever it's becoming. But there's a phrase in the Bible, good success. And it's weird to think about like, oh, there's a bad success and a good success, because we oftentimes don't phrase it that way. Is good success 100% like morality, or is it like just that you didn't screw anyone else over? But what if you screwed yourself over? What if you weren't authentically who you were, and like you just feel trapped by it at that point? That's
Yeah.
bad success.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are looking for permission, and some people are just taking it, and doing what the fuck they want. And I think that's like the rock and roll aspect of it, is like, no, I'm just gonna do me. And
Yeah.
like that's very punk, like.
Yeah.
And so eventually whatever comes of it, you can't put in that much work for that long and not have like an ethereal momentum that's like bigger and more meaningful than even it. And I think maybe in the grand scheme of life, whether 20 people see this podcast or 20 million, maybe we're just like a road marker on your way to success. And what I see it as is like, this is a platform, because I meet so many incredible people that other people might not know about, that even if we're just a road map, like, 20 miles to your destination or your next stop, like that's cool. That's cool to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
This world needs positive validation. And just to be seen, not whether it's whole or not. We have this concept, and we talk about it a lot in terms of like mental health. Now it's kind of coming to light more. But in terms of success, we're still highly critical and using the wrong metrics for it, in my mind. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, because I can just keep going. But
So what are the metrics that you think we're using that are the wrong metrics? Like,
in music, I'll give you a prime fucking
okay.
example. Nipsey Hussle.
All right.
Nipsey Hussle is someone who's been interviewed and a bunch of times before he passed,
Mhm.
and even after his passing, there's people that are skeptical because he didn't get like Grammy nominated or things like that. But it's like, fuck all that. Like, look at the impact that he's made. And he himself said, the definition of progress is how far I've come from where I've started. And like,
Okay.
if you look at the life of someone like Nip, when he's using that example, he's like, bro, not only did I come from humble beginnings, but then I fell into gangbanging, and
Mm.
or I chose it rather, and I woke up despite going through that journey. I overcame that journey and didn't turn my back on it. I wasn't not proud of it. I kept that shit and I pushed that line as far as I could, but in a different way, trying to educate people to the good and the bad of this journey that they may be embarking on. And I gave back to my neighborhood. And there's a lot of people that get success, have millions of dollars, and they can't go back to where they come from. you
For
know?
sure. For sure.
So basically, you determine success based on the value that someone brings others rather than themselves.
Well, you
Kind of.
become valuable to yourself in a different way by bringing value to
Yeah,
others.
of course.
And so, like, I'll give you another example of someone
Okay.
who's an iconic music person. There was an interview, and if you go back and watch it, it's gonna hurt your soul and your heart, man, but it's also gonna make you so proud of the boldness of Bob Marley. There's a
Okay.
dude, I believe he was an Australian reporter, and it's this whole thing, and he's so skeptical, just trying to poke holes in Bob Marley's character and philosophy.
Kemper, you cut out there,
This is
brother.
something they use to bring them joy and close, you know? And then he asks him this really poignant question. He goes, "So Bob, would you describe yourself? Would you say you're a rich man?"
I've
And
seen
he
this
says,
clip. Yeah.
"Yeah." He goes, "What makes you rich? Does money make you rich?
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then I'm not a rich man."
Yeah.
And he just goes on this tangent and just rips this dude. But I thought that I was like, fuck yeah, that's real. That's him. His own metric of success is his spiritual merit, you know?
Yeah.
Did he keep it real with himself, and love others best he could, some and I think when we're looking at success, right? In particular, we're looking at outward respect over dignity, which is inward respect of the self and how you carry yourself. And we like divide that by the amount of money you have, you know? And then we
Okay.
look at that's your societal worth.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. I
And
mean, even societal worth or no, just like, these uh not to compare my whole story to some genius, but it's like like a genius craftsman, he's
Mhm.
like he's about the craft for the craft's sake, like a scientist in the lab just trying to solve this equation. It's like it doesn't matter if you get praise or not, it's like the fact that you solve the equation, and maybe it'll get locked in a tomb and they'll find it in 2000 years or whatever, but you know what I mean? It's only somebody who's so driven to the craft that they're gonna unlock anything magical like that.
yeah, that's a great analogy actually, or like comparison.
Like it's never gonna happen if you're doing commercial music anyway, because it's like by nature, it's like you're selling something. You're selling music even or selling an image or whatever, but it's not the exploration. It's like I want people to like my shit because they're like, oh man, I can hear this guy's on a ride. I want to take the ride, you know? It's like,
Mm.
it's got to be a real ride that I rode, you know, not something I'm making to sell something, even if I'm just selling myself.
So, what are some hurdles that you've ran into in creating your own record label for those that don't know or might glorify this journey and not understand until they embark on it?
Well, really, it's nothing other than just I chose to do it. I was like, okay, like flags in the ground, Gorge Mouth Records, call it something. Got a distributor, and I pay them to put stuff on platforms. So it's really I'm still a consumer in the market essentially. It's not like as a label I have anything special. Like somebody's fronting the bill, it's me. you know.
Hmm.
I'm paying the engineer, which is me. you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a matter of just like putting things down. And not everything uh I think putting in the time to put quality things down. Not everything's going to be worthy of putting out. So kind of as like as somebody who's putting out lots of recordings, uh I'm just really honest with myself about what I'm actually going to put on the label. Like
Hmm.
it's got to be this ethos. It can't just be like my daily beat that I made or whatever.
Yeah. And Are you performing often live?
I DJ out a lot. I also have a radio show on the jazz station here in town.
Oh, very.
Um,
Give that a
yeah,
shout out. What's that called?
uh, have you guys heard of KMHD? It's
Yeah.
89.1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a radio show. It's 11 to midnight Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
So
That's
4
dope.
nights a week. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Nice.
we went to Mount Hood Community College.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Brett and I both went to Mount Hood Community College too for a brief period.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. It was funny. One time I was doing I think we were fuck. This was when I was in the radio program because I went into radio before I went into film, right? And
Cool.
I've always loved to freestyle. That's like it. You know, if I'm having fun, if I just start freestyling, that's my favorite shit. And because it is that ride, it's me hearing a story as I tell it to you. You know, that's the best way I can put it. You know, and I'm just this
Totally.
conduit for the flow. So,
Totally.
I was I was nervous, but people knew because of just me being outspoken and always playing around, you know, dicking around in the booths and stuff. That there's a microphone, and I'm like, oh hell yeah! So I see the mic, and I just start busting on it, right? And I didn't know like there's people walking by in the like foyer or whatever, I guess, and they're kind of like looking in, and out of nowhere, I'm probably going for like 5 minutes. JD, I wish it was JD. JD busts in the room, right? And he's the teacher, and he's like, "What are you doing? We're live!" And I'm dropping all kind of f bombs and everything
Oh,
all over campus,
shit.
live on the air and everything. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm
It's
sorry,
kind
bro.
of
I didn't
dope.
know."
It's kind of dope. It's
I
kind of
couldn't help
dope.
myself.
And then I was like, oh, that's why people were coming up to the windows because I didn't realize they could hear me. I thought they just saw me flowing in there and were like, oh, that's dope. No, they were like putting two together. They were like, oh shit.
I mean, if you had done it
That's
on, like, if you did that on purpose, you were like, bad kid, I'm gonna go get the mic, I'm gonna rap on the, that's pretty legendary, really.
Yeah. I wish I could say that it was more purposeful. It was more just like everyone in class being like, well, you were talking all that shit, rap. And I was like, all right. But I just totally didn't realize it was live on campus, you know? It
Yeah.
wasn't my most proudest rap. I could tell you that. So I was definitely a little nervous.
Playing
And like,
around.
yeah, and the vibe wasn't right. You know, like I'm trying to figure out, I got these people looking at me, and I got this crowd of people, and the way they're looking at me while I'm rapping, it started getting into my head, and it fucked up like the consciousness flow.
Yeah.
And so like I was using more filler words and cuss words than I would, you know, just so I would
Yeah.
have more pivot points, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But that
totally
was a
feel you.
funny moment. KMHD all the way, son.
KMHD.
Yeah, man, gotta be careful with that, make sure the volume's down.
Yeah.
One DJ actually, I'm gonna air out some dirty laundry, but one DJ actually got fired at one point. He was like, he thought he had to, because you got different faders, all right, bring the music up, and you want to pull the mic back down afterwards, and he didn't. And I think he just said shit or something, but it was just like, messing, oh shit, but it just went out live on air, and it's like, ooh,
Damn.
ooh, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's FCC or whatever,
Exactly. That's why when JD ran in, he was like, "What in the hell are you doing?" He was like, "We could get fined so much money if anyone hears this."
Which I feel like is weird because in other countries it's not so censored. Like on talk shows, you can swear up and down however much you want
Mm.
in England and stuff like that.
Mm.
So that feels like it's a little like, come on, we've all heard it. We all know what's going on. Why can't it be said on the radio?
It was
Or
probably all
TV?
those moms in the 90s with the parental advisory shit.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. When that shit came out, damn.
Well, they'd never heard none of the shit that was really coming out because I tell you what, there's so many people doing fucking ecstasy and coke and all kinds of shit back then that it was just buck wild. You know what I mean?
Well, even when you listen to rap now, it's like it's all in code, or you know, maybe not even now, but like, you know, 2000s or 90s rap. You know, it's just like they're like admitting to crime.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they can't totally tell depending on if you understand the
the
lingo
lingo.
lingo or not. But
That was something that I found was more interesting about culture back in the day, you know, especially with rap in particular. It was like the slang that was used was so unique from each crew that, like, when you're listening to it for the first time, I think that's why Wu-Tang has such a deep ass following on top of just their depth of content, but just like their lingo was so, you know, New York, but so 100% their crew.
well, you know, you have that with your friends. You know, like you know, call smoking weed something. You know, people say, "Oh, you want to burn one," or you know, you want to take a bong rip or whatever you call it. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Or
I don't know if you guys
literally, I'll
smoke
give
weed,
you
but
I'll give you an exact example, Kemp. When you say "eow," that literally passed on to me. So it's
Well,
like
yeah.
that's slang that you have within like your own group. That's
yeah,
just
Well,
you
it's
know,
like
completely meaningless, but it's
yeah,
like, I don't know, it's fun.
yeah. And now I got Josh doing it when we hang up.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
hangs up the phone. "Eow."
That that in a way is like you said planting the flag. That's like running across. You know when like you see fucking, I don't know, soccer games and the dudes run out with the flag.
Oh
"Ah!"
yeah.
That's like my verbal like yeah. Like when I pull up on you on the phone, like that's how you know it's gonna be a hilarious conversation if you hear one of those.
you're like, here it is.
Yeah, I got something goofy to tell you, bro. Um, but no, I don't want to steer too far away from um not just music, but you know what you feel drives your purpose within the musical.
You broke out there for a second.
Yeah, Kemp, you're
Side of
cutting
being.
out, brother. You need to repeat that.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was gonna say I don't want to move too far away from what compels you to continue and bring new life and new meaning through your artistry, um, and what you hope that it means to other people.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really the catalyst for a lot of um, the product being finalized. You know, there's a lot of greatness that happens that will never reach the market. That's just really powerful moments for you and your band. You know, I don't know if I,
Um.
yeah,
Uh. Yeah. I mean, really, a lot like the Tenface stuff. Like here's kind of a funny mythology around Tenface is Tenface was born once our band broke up, and I became a DJ for the first time. We were always in bands, and kind of at the time rock was fading, and people were starting to do a lot more electronic music. Everyone was like, "Be a DJ," blah blah, you know. And so finally, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna be a DJ." But I actually don't even want to do this. I want to be in a band. I want to be in like a fat, like 20-person band, you know. Um, and so for me to go ahead and switch over and do electronic music was a little bit of uh, like me becoming a villain almost, you know, going from like every villain starts as like a good guy, you know, wants to do the right thing, you know, and save the world or whatever, like be the mayor, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, like Two-Face, you know, Tenface, right?
mm-hmm.
Uh, and then it's like something really bad happens, and then they come back like, oh, like, you know, and so Tenface for me was like, um, I'm gonna be flashy. There's gonna be girls on the cover. I'm like gonna do all that stuff, you know. But it's like a little bit tongue in cheek still too. And it's me just exploring. Like I love beats. I love Jay Dilla and like jazz and stuff like that. So I love doing that anyway. But the ethos around that was kind of almost negative in a way because really the message is Live Island, um, and Live Island is something we've wanted to do for a long time. We just feel like people are hella asleep, and you know, politics is crazy. We feel like we're hella getting manipulated. We feel like, you know, we're not like crazy environmentalists, but also too, we really appreciate the earth, you know, and like we recognize it's important and we got to take care of it, you know. But I also like don't know if global warming's real, you know. I don't think it's not real or it is real, but I'm not like an activist or something, you know. It's like I don't know. We're not, you know, we don't know. But I do love gardening and I do realize that we need clean water and I do realize, you know, so Live Island is kind of about like, yo, we're on this island in outer space. It's alive. We need to keep it that way. You know, we ain't got nowhere else to go. I'm pretty sure there's other things out there. The universe is hella big, you know. Um, there's lots of other Earths out there, you know, but at this point we're kind of like islanders with primitive technology. Our boat can't even get anywhere else, you know. We can kind of like go out around our little island, but it's like we're stuck on this rock, and so let's not fuck it up, you know. And that's what Live
Yo,
Island's about, you know.
it's just slightly like of a break off from what you were just saying, but there, have you ever heard of I forget the name of it, but there's an island that people are not allowed to go to because of the people who live there. They're so disconnected from modern society that they literally have killed like people who have gone there to try and help them.
Yeah,
And
totally.
uh what's funny is when you like look at how humanity is in general, we're kind of savage. We're kind of fucked up to each other. And so if people or something else out in the universe were to see us on this little island, why wouldn't they be like, yo, just leave those things alone? Because those
Absolutely.
things are
That's
fucked.
absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's like, what?
or
Maybe we'll
or
fly
even
around and look at them sometimes, but
yeah, or even being like like we have those laws. It's kind of like a humanitarian thing or something, you know. It's like, well, let's not change their natural development, you know. Is
yeah,
why we're not supposed to contact them. It's like there might be some like crazy Guardians of the Galaxy universe things. They're like, yo, they're all like
let
got
them
nukes
be.
and shit, and
Yeah.
they're still arguing about whose god is the right god, you know. It's like, let's just, you know, leave them.
Yeah.
You know, if they figure it out and they make it, we'll go down and we'll say what's up. But
Yeah. We'll see. We'll knock on the door, test the waters.
Well, I was also listening to like a Louis C.K. bit earlier today talking about fat people not having MRIs that can fit them in. And so if you're morbidly obese, they got to send you to the zoo for an MRI machine. And he was like, who the fuck is thinking about putting an elephant in an MRI machine? It's fucking retarded. And like, just so there is someone that, you know, if you really believe in outer space and aliens, there's someone out there, or maybe they're on Earth figuring it out for everyone else, and to them, they're just making an MRI machine for an elephant, but they don't know that it'll actually serve a purpose.
Bro, that's hilarious, dude. What the fuck?
Oh yeah,
That's
look it
amazing.
up. It's called Fat People at the Zoo, and it's the
Fat people at
funniest
the
shit.
zoo.
But
is it
you know,
just a bit or does that really happen?
it's a true story, bro.
Oh my
What?
god,
Talking
that's
about
so
some lady
crazy.
who's like 600 pounds, and they sent
Oh
her
my
ass to
god.
the zoo for an MRI machine. And he was like, and when you hear it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But
But then you're like,
then
who's
you're like, why the
MRI an
fuck is there an
elephant?
MRI machine at the zoo?
That's hilarious.
He was like, why wouldn't you make an MRI machine for fat people? Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
make an
Yeah.
MRI machine for humans? He's
Yeah.
like,
Maybe they have it
Yeah.
now. I would
elephants need
hope.
MRIs too, apparently, is what he was
Apparently,
talking
bro.
about. And I thought it was fucking hilarious.
My question is, how the fuck do they get an elephant in an MRI machine? Is it like a
Training
whole room?
glasses.
It
Like
raises
what?
a lot of questions.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
But the point of what I'm getting at is, look, I say it all the time. Retard genius. You know, I consider myself a retard genius. You know what I mean? Like when you
Okay.
strike gold and it's like, yeah, I might not be able to do I'm not like I don't know. I feel like Nikola Tesla could probably figure out how to hang wallpaper really easy. My mom couldn't figure out how to read a ruler because she's dyslexic, and so there's just too many lines and it trips her out, right?
Yeah.
And so instead, she would just take a string and run it across the room and be like, all right, go to the store, give them the string and be like, I need this much wallpaper. Retard genius. You figured
Yeah,
it out.
No, I
for
feel
real.
you. I feel you.
That's
And
innovative.
yeah,
Problem
there's
solving.
probably cuter words to call it than retard genius, but I kind of
Yeah.
like it somewhat abrasive and endearing.
Yo,
Yeah.
I am unoffendable, so don't even worry about it.
Well, at the end of the day, when people like, it's like life's too short, bro. Like, who would ever walk up to someone who's like, who you think is actually quote unquote retarded? You know, and be like, "Oh, you're
For
retard." Like,
sure.
bro, you gotta be a
Yeah.
fucking savage. Like, what kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody
No
would do that for
assholes
sure.
doing that.
For sure.
exactly right? And so
Yeah.
that's why it's like, why the fuck be offended by just like when someone drops an R bomb?
Oh no.
Whoa. You know, at the end of the day, you just gotta be who the fuck you are at all costs, you know?
Well,
And
and my whole thing with a lot of those words, is I'm like, don't tell me what my words mean, because it's like when I'm saying like like I don't know, fag or something. It's just like
Mhm.
when we were kids and we'd call each other that, like I didn't mean homosexual, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like I meant like dork. And
yeah,
so and I get it. We kind of like we've got to this place where things are changing. And I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, it's a little dystopian to me too, because it's like there's a lot of words that mean multiple things, you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
So to be like, well, that word offends people, you can't say it. It's like, but what you're offended by isn't what I meant. That's not what I said.
And it
It's the
probably
same
doesn't
letters, but
mean
that's not
you.
what I said.
Because if
Yeah.
you were
It's the
gonna be
intent.
interacting with that person, you probably wouldn't use that same verbiage because it wouldn't
Exactly.
pertain to their, your relationship. And it's funny that you say fag because honestly, one of the things that I was just saying to my bros is like, I wouldn't call a gay person a fag unless I'm gay and I just banged them because I think that's fucking hilarious. Because I'm just a bro. Like if you're a gay dude and you had sex with another dude and then we're just like fag, like I think that's hilarious.
They
Like
they do actually. It's like a thing.
it's no different than a chick calling another chick bitch.
For
And
sure.
but bitches can be dudes, you know?
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
My toaster could be a bitch made toaster because it just don't heat my fucking toast up the right way. I had a ghetto ass
It's
toaster
like
for
an
the longest
uneven
time.
burn.
Bro, I
Well, and
used
there's
to be so mad.
and there's all these people who are like, they'd be like, oh well, for instance, don't say bitch because it's derogatory to women. But oh, I love Snoop Dogg.
Mhm.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
It's like
or you know what I
the
mean? It's just like you're like, like what do
yeah.
there's not like a consistent logic through it. It's just
Yeah.
like
It's kind of like the anti-capitalists using Apple products and wearing
for
Jordans and
sure,
stuff like
for
that.
sure.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any
What
sense.
is an anti-capitalist?
It's
Yeah.
somebody who wants socialism rather than capitalism. Someone who thinks that the capitalistic economy doesn't work or is bad for humans and thinks that we should all be socialists.
And
But
also hasn't studied socialism very much and hasn't seen
Yeah.
the pile of bodies apparently. So
yeah,
Yeah. And so like all these people who are against
gee.
capitalism, they're also using products that
Uh,
are literally built on
I just never heard
capitalism.
it in the term. Yeah, I didn't know that they had a fucking anti-capitalism fan club
for
now.
sure.
Oh, it's
Gosh,
going it's a
yeah.
thing.
I
It's a
feel like,
thing.
Well,
yeah, it's so crazy because it's crazy to see people so passionate about something that they like don't know what they're talking about.
For
You know,
real.
it's like it's like, yo, just study a
yeah,
little tiny bit of
I
history.
also think it's an we have like a bumper sticker mentality.
What's
What were
that?
you saying? Damn it, jinx. I'm just like, uh, I was saying we have like a bumper sticker mentality. you
Yeah,
know, where
yeah,
and we just want to slap this bumper sticker on and be like, this is what I'm about, you know, and make
Yeah.
these blanket statements rather than actually do something more logical and try to understand case by case, you
It's
know?
yeah.
like headline culture,
Well, it's
kind
like
of.
you should have to really study something before you say anything about it. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's like it's like Twitter kind of. You know, it's like everyone's just these dunk statements. You know, it's like only a few characters, and it's like, oh, aren't you so smart? You know, it's like
Yeah,
how much do you really know about that topic?
for
You know?
real. And how
You
much
know
are
that
you willing to learn from other
Yeah,
people that do know more, you
yeah,
know,
that's what I was gonna get at is like in order to be a good teacher, you have to be a great student,
all the
you
time.
know? And there's always gonna be like a disparity between the two until you realize that you're really just the receiver of these um, frequencies of thought and of energy. And once we kind of pare back these physical things that we're so heavily invested in to keep our framework of reality intact, you know, and be able to measure things rather than just experience them and then live that experience and be like, oh, it was meaningful in this way. Because everyone can be at a concert, but not everyone is present for the same amount of time within that concert. You know, some people are only blown away in like one moment, and someone else is there the whole time, like, what the fuck, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah.
And once we start just appreciating our individual piece within this whole thing, then we're not gonna have near as much fun, and we're also not gonna have near as much understanding and compassion for one another's experience and the validity of it. You know, because we're just trying to poke holes in it rather than actually accept it at like face value first. You know?
Yeah.
One for me too, as a just like experiencer of life, it's like everybody has a little thing that you can learn from them about, you know? And
Mhm.
so it's like instead of trying to impress them, it's like really going into what that thing is. And even if you disagree with it, if you fully hear it out, you're going to learn better what the thing is rather than you can just walk away from the conversation like, oh, they didn't know what they were talking about, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
and you know,
even if that was your conclusion in the end, it's still cool to be like, but I got where they were coming from, you know?
Yeah.
I never understood until like my dad passed away this year, and I was kind of looking at um our relationship, and I spent the majority of my life not really, at least especially my adult life, not agreeing with my dad. And we would argue like a motherfucker a lot, man. And but he would never leave, and I wouldn't leave either. It was like we couldn't understand each other's perspective enough to like accept it, but like, or like be like, all right, you were right, you know.
Yeah.
We never really had that moment of like you were right and him telling me I was right. It was just like we both knew what the fuck each other thought, and we just thought some different shit, but we were okay with it in the end. And that's what really made it copacetic, is like, at least I get it, you know what I mean? You've made yourself fucking clear,
Yeah.
you know.
And I can tell you back what your position is and you can be like, "Yep, that's what I think." And I can be like, "This is why I disagree with you."
Yep,
It's
exactly.
Kemper
And
and I always have debates on religion, and because I'm not very religious and Kemper is. So like I'm not necessarily atheist. I guess I would say like I'm agnostic or something, where you just kind of like you don't necessarily believe in a specific version of a god or a deity, but you kind of don't doubt the possibility of something greater, right? But Kemper and I debate him on like the Bible and Christianity, and then we kind of just go back and forth, and after a while we're just like, okay, well, we're good. We know where we're at now.
Yeah, yeah,
We've heard
yeah,
each other out. We get each other's sides, and we found some commonality a little bit. But
yeah.
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, yeah,
I
Well,
also
that's
think a
where it's
lot of
at.
people, so there's a difference between being religious and like dogmatic for no reason. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like to me, being religious is having a reverence for the gateway that you found to the Holy Spirit within yourself. You know, and you don't have to be Christian to experience what I call the Holy Spirit. That's the connection that you have uniquely to God that's linked through your spirit. You know, and when it shifts you, something moves you so much that it awakens. You know, I don't give a fuck if it's just you listening to Beyonce hit a high note and you're like, oh, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever that is for you, you know, just having reverence for that gateway to understanding and awakening within yourself. Um,
Yeah,
and so, like, it isn't about these services and things like that because you can have a whole celebration and never touch God, you know, viscerally within yourself. So it isn't about this like pageantry. To me, like I've learned a lot of principles through Christianity and being a Christian, you know, and through Jesus. And Jesus defies so much stuff that's in the Bible that inevitably me and Zach wind up in these like weird moments where his logic has contradicted the way that God treats and loves us, you know, which supersedes our ability to necessarily perceive. And so when you look at like Jesus in his journey through life, he's constantly doing one thing in this situation and then he gets put in a very similar situation, does complete opposite shit. You know what I mean?
there's probably some differentiation in there that's important, you know.
Hmm. And I just think that we're all unique, you know, and that um if like I don't think that we necessarily created ourselves, and it's hard for us to accept the fact that we're um I just wrote a great little chapter about this, but like we're an ingredient in this universal kitchen. And although we get to choose the ingredients of our thoughts, emotion, and spiritual intentions, you know, that we put into this pan that is, you know, like the universe, right? And get shoved into this oven, which is the energy source of God, you know, and frequency, you know, and then it comes back out to us. We have a hard time accepting the fact that although we chose the ingredients, we never created an ingredient. I may have chose to cook with a carrot, but I've never actually created the first fucking carrot. I could plant a seed and have a carrot come out,
Sure.
you know, but I didn't molecularly like make a fucking carrot. I don't. I never was the originator of that, you know, and it's this very convoluted, you know, chicken or the egg kind of scenario, and you're a piece of it and not a piece of it, and everything's like got duality to it in a sense. Um, but that's the spectrum of life, you know.
Well, and so I'm a gardener, and you know I grew weed for 10 years. People would always say, "Oh man, your fucking weed is so good! Like, oh, you're amazing," you know. And I was like, "Bro, I'm just a janitor. Like, I just clean up, just pour some water, mix some shit. Like I
Hmm.
can't make weed, like, you know, or a
Hmm.
tomato or an
yeah.
apple. Like, I can't make that. Like, I don't know how to make that. I just pour water on this thing, keep it alive."
Yeah, and it
You know,
grows. Yeah,
you know.
that's a great analogy of this. And you know, I think the more that we can come to appreciate things without needing to narrate or contextualize them, the better our experience and more robust it is, you know, because it becomes tailored to what we need it to be in order to create what we're intending to create through ourselves, you know.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of an individualistic experience while here being here to share it with other people. And so to kind of bring this back is like in terms of like religion, you know, it's a framework of understanding the way of God, you know, and the way of life, and how energy works, you know, and these principles that govern our universe, because they are real and there's many different minds and ways that we'll come to understand them. And if we can stop fucking bickering over like, oh, well,
Yeah,
I don't think fucking Christmas is real, or like whatever
yeah,
the hell
yeah,
Yeah.
your beef is for no reason, you know, like um it's not that you're wrong to believe so wholeheartedly that you would fight for something. I think that's beautiful and that's honorable. But there's some aspects of the individual um, experience that should just remain sacred. And I think New York does this very well in an interesting way. Um, but like my mom used to tell me, she was like, when I was in New York, we would get off of school for every culture's holiday. You
Oh
know,
wow.
it didn't matter
yeah,
if it was Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, we got all of them off, you know? And I thought that was so dope. I was like, what a cool freaking way to go about it, rather than just glossing it over or trying to paint everything into one thing, you know, or say this is standard.
Yeah.
Christmas is standard. Like, although me being a Christian and just someone that fucking loves the experience of Christmas, yeah, I think Christmas is dope. You should have Christmas. But are you like, should Christmas be the only fucking day that we celebrate or give gifts, or should it just be because of Christ? Like, there should be other abilities for people to insert celebration and give it status and reverence.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. But really, it's just I think that people sometimes get too wrapped up in whether it's real or not, or whether it's like they miss the metaphor in it. It's like there's some wisdom in this book. It's like we're gonna argue, oh, well, was it 2,000 years ago, or well, there was dinosaurs and all that. It's like okay, but you're taking it too literally, kind of. It's like just what does the story of Jacob mean? What does the story of Noah mean? It's like it doesn't matter if Noah existed really or not. It's like
Bro,
to, to learn from it. It's like
I love people like you and Zach that could take what my huge ramble was and like cut right through it to like the nugget of what I'm really trying to say. Sometimes it just makes me feel like shut the fuck up, bro. I don't even need to say anything. Just listen for a little bit.
It's that whole metaphor idea was actually um a big part of this book that I just finished reading, which was called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, which I've talked about a lot on
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Uh, Not only was it the most difficult book I've ever read, but it was also one of the very few books I've read about religion specifically. Um, and this whole book was basically talking about how early religion could have been just a bunch of metaphors to hide certain things that they didn't want the superpower at the time, which was I think Rome, to know about. So they hid them in these parables, and so it could just be that these are things like you were saying, metaphors that we need to look deeper into to learn about not ourselves, but the spirit, the world, and how to find happiness, kind of thing, I guess. But yeah,
You should
well,
read
crazy
about.
book.
Sorry, go on.
well, I was gonna say, well, and clearly for me too, there's some spiritual aspect of it, because it's like, where did we come from? Like I
Yeah.
know I'm here right now. Like I think I know I'm here right now. It's like, where did we come from? Like I'm not. This isn't just a solely biological experience.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe it is. Maybe my brain's just tricking me. But I think being able to consider all that's important. But like, so I believe that there is some kind of, I don't know.
There we
uh,
go.
Sorry, cut out for a sec. There is some
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I just feel like there is something I believe, and I don't know, doesn't matter, I guess, what I believe, but
Oh, we got a phone call.
sorry, my phone's
He's
blowing
back.
up.
Oh, it's all
That's
good,
fine.
man.
There we go. Uh, they're trying to stop me from telling the truth.
Get him.
But at the same time, yeah, I think that we just get wrapped up, like you said, arguing about uh, kind of the trivial aspects of it, you know, like whose celebration we should have, or, you know, whether, like I said, Adam and Eve, did they really exist, you know? Like, well, we found their bones or whatever. It's like, all that's
Yeah.
kind of beside the point. It's like the story of Noah or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like I said, I do believe in my spirit, you know, I don't think
Yeah.
it's just cold space,
Same.
but I also, you know, like there's so much information, and I don't think we should overlook it, you know? It's like there's some hella wisdom in those books, you know?
Yeah, I've been reading Edgar Casey.
You cut out again, Kemp. What was that?
Finally. I was reading a book by a guy named Edgar Casey, or it was about him, and this whole book is about extrasensory perception, right? And it goes into like things about the Akashic records and things, a lot of stuff. It's really deep, but let me see.
What was the name of the book again?
Well, this one is it's called Edgar Casey on ESP by Doris Agee. Agee is her name. How you spell it?
Okay.
If you want to talk about a mind-boggling read, it's
Well, if
really
it's anything like you explained last episode, you're gonna melt people's faces off.
so. Check this out. It says, stating the relationship between body, mind, and soul, Edgar Casey said in one reading, when the body physical lays aside the material body, that which in the physical is called the soul becomes the body of the entity. And that called the superconscious becomes the consciousness of the entity, as the subconscious is to the physical body. The subconscious becomes the mind or intellect of the body after death. And I thought that was really interesting.
I think you froze up again.
Oh man, his internet's having trouble today.
Oh no!
You said
Oh.
so. I think that's really interesting, and that's all we heard.
Ah, shit! You missed the whole part, huh?
They're
They ain't wanting the truth to come out.
trying
All
to
right.
stop us.
So, I went past it. Hold up. Give me one sec. Colb, I'm doing a podcast.
Ooh, phone calls.
Yeah. Sorry, my brother was calling me, wanting to know I'm all right. Boom. Okay. So, stating the relationship between mind, body, and soul, Edgar Casey said in one reading, when the body physical lays aside the material body,
Oh, we heard we heard the reading part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just heard like your interpretation of it. We didn't hear that.
Oh, okay. Well, that was what I was reading. But yeah, I just thought it was
okay.
really, really interesting, that whole take on it about the mind, body, and the soul and how it works, and there being different layers of your consciousness that encompass a different component of you in the physical as well as in the ethereal realm when it comes into like reincarnation. Because as you get into the concept of reincarnation and us only remembering portions of who we are based on our intention for this life, while having lived these other lives that exist in this subconscious realm that give us the gift of being a musician or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you hadn't necessarily been a musician before, but you were someone that worked, like musicians work in the universe of sound within this universe, right? Artists work within light and demonstration within this universe, right? And so there's universes within this universe, and there's a whole universe of experiences within yourself that comprise who you are and bring you to this precipice of before you enter this body with an intention for this lifetime. Then you get into this body in this lifetime and you begin to navigate. And maybe I was an architect or something, but that um, love for framework, right? And like a blueprint, right? And structure leads me to become a Beethoven or something, someone who creates symphonies and takes that same love for structure that I had from this previous life where I may have been helping build a pyramid or a castle or something, right? And in this realm, I may just take and try to express what a beautiful painting of a castle looks like to me through song, and it comes out in structure of music.
For
Does
sure,
that make
for
sense?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
You know
Thought.
what's crazy is that I don't know when this happened, and I don't know who actually did it, but I read an article a while back about scientists officially being able to store information on DNA.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
because they were actually capable of doing that, it doesn't seem too far fetched that our bodies could literally be like hard drives for the past,
yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
you know?
Just
And
through evolution, even.
exactly, yeah. And then another interesting thing, which I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say one time, was that the same 5 elements that are the key elements in all of the universe
Mhm.
are within us, which
Mm.
means the things that make up our bodies have existed forever, and they're the part of the universe, basically. So it's like we are the universe, and it kind of like it makes sense to hear
Mhm.
that and then hear what you're saying is like things are passing down to us through everything else. And it just
Yeah.
seems like an interesting way to like understand how things just flow, I guess.
Yeah, I think science is always behind the eight ball of experience.
Yeah. Oh, what do
And
you mean by that?
because I think that we're trying to find ways to measure experience in ways that there might not be metrics for. Or
Okay.
maybe they are, but it's always gonna, in my mind, seem less, I don't want to say pointless, but less poignant than the value of the experience itself. And although it's good to have a way that we can contextualize things, like space and time, space and time might not actually exist, but we created them as a way to understand the experience in which we're living as humans. But it isn't.
Well, I mean, only to the degree that. Wait, you froze up again?
Oh, shit. No, I just might be sitting still.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're
cool.
sitting
That's
still.
cool.
You're a statue, bro.
uh, yeah, I feel like I think about that a lot, and I think that the like for music, for instance, it's like I didn't create the music. I manipulated the sound waves that are already here. It's like or like the distance between two notes, um, like uh the feeling that's created when I go from one note to this note versus one note to like this note, it's like that feeling, like when you hear it, it like invokes something. It's like it's not I didn't create that. And
Mhm.
so or like, I feel it like, could be a simulation or it could be, like all the different theories. But also too, if someone's like got a power drill in your leg, it's like it's pretty like you're like, okay, we're here right now.
Pretty
you know.
painful. Yeah.
I'm like, meditate that away. I know some, there's like these Buddhist masters who done all kind of crazy stuff, but it's like whether reality is real or not, it's like we're dealing with it. We're right here, right now. I don't know what else to do about it.
Yeah.
Try
Just
not
gotta
to
live it.
suffer too much,
Yeah.
or suffer the right amount to build some character. But
Facts.
but
Yeah.
try. It's like some people are like, oh, like make your own reality. Or reality is what you make it. It's like if you got a power drill in your leg, it's like wish that away, or throw
You
a
know,
fireball. I'll believe you. Throw a fireball.
you know what's interesting, bro? So in regards to that kind of concept of like suffering the right amount and things like that, um, how do I say this? If we were watching a movie, you wouldn't necessarily want any of the bad parts to go away because they make the movie what it is.
For sure.
But when we live our life, um, we want these, we call these parts that we think we don't want to experience that are really just a setup bad parts. And it's really only the labeling of it as a bad part that, you know, takes away in a sense, or in one, in the same time adds meaning to the beauty of what is to come. That's like a victory, right? But victory and victory and victory and victory and victory means nothing without a loss of some sort.
Yeah, for sure.
And so accepting, and I think this is something that like Taoism and like Lao Tzu is like such a genius for, is like nature, right? If we just observe nature, we can learn so much about the harmony of all seasons of life, of, you know, the building up of things, and say like consciousness wise. Um young Sorry, my brain gets tired quicker now, and so then it gets kind of harder for me to track shit. But
It's
young
all good, bro.
kids, right, are this vibrant new zest for life and thought and joy to express itself without the need for the old meaning or what we understand things to be, right?
Hear you. Yeah.
Elderly people become more fixed in our ways and in our understandings of how things were, and create this um, regurgitation or like reverence for how things were, so that way we don't lose track of the beauty of what was as what is coming to be is blooming. And then
Sure.
in the middle ground, there's us, just people kind of going this way, kind of going that way. Oh, I miss these traditions. Oh, I think this was pointless and we can do this better, whatever it may be. And I think that's just kind of the evolution of life. And if we look at it in terms of like nature, there's a lot of ways that we can see this harmony and the way of life changing and the way of our experience giving meaning to all things, both painful and less painful, both pleasurable and purposeful,
Yeah.
and at a certain point, pleasure itself is all the purpose you need. And once you're able to detach emotionally from your need to feel a certain way in order to choose to behave or to vibrate and give out, in essence, you then are a victim rather than a master of living,
Feel that.
regardless of your experience.
Yeah. Feel that. Yeah.
Fuck, bro. That was deep. That was a good one.
Well, thanks, because I just melted my own brain out on that one.
Yeah, you got me there. I'm like, I gotta think on that one.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like I got an ice pick sticking in my head, but
That's a
that's just,
violent feeling.
yeah, it's not the best. But you get through it, and that's the thing. After a while, it's like, fuck it. If thinking's gonna make me do this, um, I'm still gonna think anyways.
Yeah.
So what is pain? You know?
Yeah, well, going back to the power drill, it's like there's a certain level of pain it's like pain is almost the most fundamental reality because you can't. I mean, now maybe you're a Buddhist master, but it's like some shit it lets you know that we're subject to reality, to a reality. So there
Mm.
is some fixed reality, which is like, you know, it's like sometimes life is so good that we can almost be like, well, anything can happen, or this could be anything. But it's like have such a luxury to even be able to think that, you know?
I've
It's Sorry, go on, Zach.
I've always kind of explained reality to people as being made up of three different things. Uh, so the first is your personal reality. So how you perceive the world going on around you. And then number two is other people's realities effect on you. So the way that Kemper sees reality affects me as well. And then number three is a combination of both of those to create the actual reality. So everybody's reality formed together almost to create one mega truth of what's going on.
One and what I if I could pick that apart a little bit is I feel
Yeah.
like there's everyone has their own perspective, and that's
Yeah.
like like their experience in this reality. But at the same time, like outside of us all, whether we were here or not, it's like if a tree falls in the woods doesn't make a sound, it's like just because your ear bones didn't
It's
vibrate
still
doesn't mean there
going.
wasn't a sound.
Yeah, it's still there. Those waves moved through the air and made that cracking noise.
Yeah.
And
And in some theories they would argue, oh, if there's no perceiver, string theory or something, but
Yeah,
I guess I don't buy that. Maybe I haven't
me
been
neither.
convinced, but
I think what's kind of funny is I can bring this on home, and I'm gonna have to wrap this up because my head's now attacking me. But
For sure.
it's like that's a perfect example of like on the one hand, I'm like, fuck it, I can endure it because it's not necessarily unendurable. But then on the other end, it's like, is it worth it? Should I honor having a more pleasurable experience for myself? You know, um, and that's something that I'm still navigating, especially like with a lot of the stuff that that's happening with like my head. Cause like in a weird way, when this happens, it's like on one hand, it's like I may feel like violent tension. And then on the other hand, it literally feels like I have a fan right here, like blowing cold air in my head when I know there's not a fan on. And that's just kind of like trippy. And it's a weird sensation. And so I'm like, I think this is probably a time where it's like, am I gonna pass out? Maybe, maybe not. But is it really like worth it to sit and continue when I'm rolling the dice on that one? I don't know.
yeah.
I think this is an experience I need to go have on my own. And
Well,
maybe that's
and
what we're all doing, more or
and
less.
you might want to make sure that's not like a fucking blood clot or something, bro. You gotta go to the doctor, homie.
Oh, I have, bro. I'll tell you what. I've gone to the doctor. They've done different scans and things like that. So they say it's from like too many concussions. So wear your helmet, kiddos. Don't forget that. But I can tell you one thing. I seem to understand the universe and keep getting funnier. So if you
Maybe your
need a
third eye is
personality
just
change,
coming out of your.
yeah,
Yeah.
just watch out for pianos or decide to just get it over with and go over the handlebars or something. I don't know what to tell you. But Luis, thank you so much. To anybody that doesn't know about Gorge Mouth, thank you for allowing us the chance to bring that to light
For real.
and help them have an experience with your music because sonically you're doing something really different and you're super duper rad. And if there's anything
Appreciate
going
that.
forward or right now that you're like, hey, I want to promote this, just hit us up or right now let us know.
Yeah, man. Just encourage everybody to go to gorgemouthrecords.bandcamp.com and just check out the music.
For sure.
Hell
It'll be
yeah.
in the description, so we got you.
Thanks.
All
It
right.
was a pleasure to
That-
chat with you guys.
Hey, thanks for being here.